What's up, y'all? I am back out here in the Abita Swamp, but this time I'm actually out here to release a snake. It is a big old water moccasin that I just had to show y'all that I did not manage to capture on camera. Let me go ahead and show y'all this snake. Look at the size of this water moccasin. This is actually the biggest water moccasin that I have caught so far in my search for a monster moccasin. I've only caught a handful. I've only caught a few moccasins that breached that 3-foot barrier. I measured this moccasin. It is 43 inches long. 43 inches. So it may not look like it, but in length, this is actually bigger than the one that I caught out here last year during the drought. Bigger than both the ones I caught out here last year during the drought. And it's up there as being one of the biggest moccasins that I've caught. Not the biggest one, but one of the biggest ones. Probably up there in the top 3 or top 4 biggest moccasins that I've caught. This snake was caught at night in front of my parents' house when I wasn't even looking for snakes. When I was not even looking for snakes. And I happened to see this big old snake in the ditch. They're actually doing construction in the they're tearing down and clearing out the woods and swamps across the street from my parents' house. I think that's what drove this snake out, because where I grew up at over there, I would hardly ever see water moccasins. Hardly ever saw any venomous snakes out there. And this isn't the first big moccasin to have showed up in that same stretch of ditch out there where this one popped up at. I actually caught another big one out there a few years ago that I also released out here as well. But this is a big, beautiful female. Big, beautiful female western cottonmouth. Temperament's not super bad. When I caught her, she was pretty pissy when I caught her, but she's calmed down now. Now, I know a lot of you who may not be too versed in snakes out there may be thinking that this isn't really a big cottonmouth. This is a big cottonmouth. You know, down in this region of Louisiana, it is really hard for these snakes to breach the 3-foot barrier. Coming from somebody who spends a lot of time looking for these snakes, I have seen hundreds of water moccasins. I've caught hundreds of water moccasins, and only about 3 or 4 that I've seen were over 3.5 feet long. This one is at 3.5 feet long. I've caught one that was 4 feet, and another one that was 4 feet and probably 4 feet 5 inches, 4.5 feet. And maybe one other one that was about the same size as this one. These snakes down here just do not get very big a lot. I've seen a lot of 3-footers. I have seen a lot of 3-footers, but not a lot can get over that 3-foot barrier. To set this snake down and show y'all the snake on the ground. Alright, so there's a view of her on the ground. Now, the western cottonmouth is one of the most common venomous snakes you can find down here in Louisiana. Right there next to the copperhead. They're a venomous pit viper species. You can see right there on the side of her face, in between her eye and nostril, you can see her heat sensing pit. These snakes possess a hemotoxic venom that destroys red blood cells, but they can also sometimes possess a cytotoxic venom that causes necrosis. Depending on locality, it all depends on where you find the snake. Depending on locality, I believe that these snakes can have both types of venoms, depending on where you find them at. Because sometimes you see bites where it's just a hemotoxic bite, where it's just a lot of swelling and whatnot. And sometimes you see these bites and it's you get a lot of necrosis, a lot of tissue damage. So I think it's all about where you find the snake, depending on what kind of venom they're going to have. These snakes have a very bad reputation for just raw aggression, for just having just raw aggression, and that is just completely the opposite. Sure, these snakes can have a nasty attitude. These snakes can have a nasty attitude, but a lot of the things that are said about cottonmouths is that they chase people. And once again, in my hundreds of cottonmouths that I have dealt with and caught out in the wild, I am still waiting for the day where I have one of these snakes chasing me. I've never had it happen. I'm still waiting for it to happen. But what the reality behind that is, a lot of times when I hear these stories of these snakes chasing people, people are walking on a creek or a river or whatnot, and these snakes would typically be sitting on the bank of a creek or a river, and when they sense a person coming by, they want to dive into the water. They want to dive into the water, and that's where they feel safe. And someone who's not too versed in snakes, doesn't know a whole lot about snakes, they might think that snake's coming after them. Just simple as that. Or really, the snakes don't think the same way as us. A lot of snakes do not think the same way as us. If you're by a hole or wherever that snake wants to go, it'll go straight through you to get to where it wants to go. It's simply in its path of flee. It's just fleeing in your direction, and people just perceive that as it's chasing them, as it's coming after. I have had snakes do that, come in my direction to try to get somewhere to where they want to go, and they would just go right through me. They would just go right through my legs and whatnot. They have never had one bite me as they're going under my legs and whatnot, because I'm always wearing boots when I'm hiking through their territory. So I'm completely comfortable letting these snakes run between my legs and whatnot, to just prove that these snakes, they're not really chasing, or they just want to get somewhere that's behind you, just trying to get through you to get to a hole or the water or wherever they're trying to go. And see, this one right here is really just gaping the mouth at me every time I do a sudden move at her. She's just gaping the mouth. So, yeah, these snakes really are not all that. They're not all that defensive. They're not super. They're definitely not aggressive. They're not all that defensive either. They really just want to be left alone. The bigger ones do tend to have a bit more of an attitude problem, the bigger ones, but really that's only if you're messing with them. That's really only if you're messing with them. I go out on my way to go find these snakes, and I'm catching these snakes, and I find the bigger ones definitely will be a bit more defensive than the smaller ones. But that's only because I'm messing with them. You leave these snakes alone, they're not going to have anything to do with you. These snakes eat all kinds of things. They're predominantly going to be eating frogs and fish. Frogs and fish are going to be their main diet. But they've also been seen. They'll also eat rodents, other snakes. They are ophiophagus. They're snake eaters as well. I've heard stories of really big ones eating baby alligator. And these are the only snakes that I know of that will also feed on animals that are already dead, such as fish. Like we saw last year, one of my videos, there was one of the pools, one of the swamp had pretty much dried up out here, and it was just reduced down to a couple of pools and a bunch of dead fish. And the smell of those dead fish attracted in a lot of water moccasins. And they were gorging themselves on those fish that were dead and dying in those pools. But not only that, these snakes will also be seen eating roadkill, which is something that is extremely bizarre in the snake world. I've only ever heard of that in cottonmouths. Again, this is the biggest cottonmouth that I have caught. The biggest one that I've caught in probably since 2019, I'd say. 18. The biggest one I've caught since 2018. So about 5 years or so, 5-6 years. The biggest one I've caught in about 5 or 6 years. And the biggest one that I've caught on my search for another really big moccasin. I'm looking for that 4-footer. Looking for that 4-footer. And unfortunately did not manage to catch this one on camera. I was not recording when I caught it. I was out shining for infumas when I found her. And I found this snake. And unfortunately did not have my camera gear with me. But I just had to show y'all this snake. She's an absolutely gorgeous cottonmouth. She's big and she's got really gorgeous colors as well. Really gorgeous colors. I'll put some pictures up on the screen of her colors when of some pictures of right when I caught her. Yeah, unfortunately this snake has to be relocated because of all the clearing that they're doing where right outside from where the snake was caught. But she can live out the rest of her life out here and hopefully not run into another human again apart from me, who comes out here frequently. Hopefully she won't run into another person again. We're gonna let her go back into the swamp over here.